Hi, I'm Gil Benbrook from Phoenix Stages and TalkinBroadway.com, and I am here with the two leads of Arizona Broadway Theater's South Pacific. We have Kate Marshall and Sean David Cooper. So, South Pacific I consider to be one of the top five Rodgers and Hammerstein musicals. There might be some people that don't know what the show is about or have actually never seen the show. So, Kate, what's a little brief synopsis of what the show is, or what South Pacific is?
Sure. Well, it kind of almost makes sense that people might know the name, they might know a few songs, but they might not know the storyline, because it actually was never revived on Broadway until the last 10 years after it initially came out in 1949. But it is based on the book by James Michener, The Tales of the South Pacific. So it centers around our characters and then another couple as well, and everybody else's drama of living on this island and surviving during a war. And it came out so close to World War II that it's almost strange that we don't talk more about the war. When we're so far removed from World War II now, you look back at this musical and it seems very bright and shiny and fun, and that's what people needed to hear in 1949, was all these good things that still were able to happen during the war, and it wasn't just about the tragedy of the war. But you follow our characters, you follow another couple as we...
And a lot of supporting characters.
Yes, a lot of supporting characters. A lot of wonderful supporting characters.
Yeah.
I'm very jealous of their moments on stage. They get to have some really wonderful...
What kind of research, what did you guys do for your parts?
Like a ridiculous amount. This was the most research I've ever done for a part, because so often I'm playing characters that exist in like a real time and place, but not based on any kind of truth. And I was so interested in where Nellie got her training, and at what point before or after during the war that she really decided to become part of this war effort, and did a lot of research and read the book. The book is so great.
Which in the book was based on Michener's true experience.
Yeah.
When he was actually in the war.
Yeah, and so you don't know where his real experiences end and where...
It's fictionalized.
Yeah.
So, and I should say, so
Real
you're
Nellie.
playing, the character you're playing is of an American from the South.
Yes.
And you are a French plantation owner who just happens to be on this island where everyone is basically being based. So what about what kind of research did you do for a French plantation owner? I mean, it's...
Well, I read the chapters in the book that were pertinent to these characters, thanks to Kate. And then there were some materials that were kind of offered through our director, Andy. Some articles and things like that. So that was my prep.
In South Pacific, there's this great song called "You've Got to Be Carefully Taught," which it's a short song, but it's really, really potent. So, Sean, what can you tell us about that song, as well as the message of the show that unfortunately is still very relevant today?
Yeah, well, it's one of the great moments in the piece, and the piece does have sort of a lot of fluff and sort of bright lights.
Yeah. I've got to wash that man around my hair.
And they kind of had to do that to sort of slip in this thread.
Yeah, it doesn't come in until like the middle of Act 2. We kind of just slip it in there. Yeah.
But they're very crafty, and my experience with the show was similar to yours, where it didn't sort of resonate with me at first and then kind of clicked, especially doing the show, where these little themes kind of get subtly reinforced. I think it's true, when you put kids together, they don't notice the color of each other's skin. They're just kids. That is the innate situation into which we're all born. And the lyrics are very relevant for the time and for now. That it's not just about being specifically taught to think of yourself as separate, to have an innate instinct to segregate. It's the repetition. The line, it's got to be drummed in your dear little ear. I think that part is very powerful, that it's not just something that is said once, but the reinforcement of it in a child's mind that is growing. And then that is what you have for your life. And so that's just as true today as it has always been.
Unfortunately.
That the responsibility is on the adults to say, okay, well, this is what we accept now as a culture, regardless of what you were taught. I think that's the message there.
So how have you found this experience different from other theaters that you worked at?
First, I'm such a fan of ABT's work. Like, I lived here about 5 years ago and saw a lot of shows here and loved the production value. And so whenever they come to New York, if there's something right for me, I always tried to get in and please hire me and let me come down and play. But I love it here. Because I lived here, I love the weather here. I'm so excited to be here during the holiday season. But specifically, we have a nice long, like a rehearsal period that's like a week longer than what I'm used to like rushing into. a nice long run where you really get to dig into the characters. You don't just get to do it for like 2 weeks and then walk away. It's really nice.
And what about you, Sean? Is there anything that you found about ABT? Versus...
Yeah, I mean, I'm very impressed with the facilities. Obviously, they're adding on to the space. It's clearly doing very well. Aside from the kind of great local talent that is used, I think that there is a very strong presence of New York actors that are involved in ABT, and that's really a wonderful relationship that they have built to bring in this talent and to bring them back for multiple shows. So the thing that I'm most impressed with is the personnel, are the people that are around here, this company.
How does performing in this show compare to your operating experience, because you've also have a lot of musical theater experience too?
Yeah. Well, it's just great. It's like it's the perfect blend of the two. It's like kind of a true crossover kind of piece. We prefer crossover having elements of something more classical than contemporary. It's first of all written so beautifully for the bass voice, which is something that you don't often get in the musical theater form. Everything is kind of very high and intense. So I think with Ezio Pinza in mind, they wrote something that is comfortably in the bass voice. So it's very singable. And we're mic'd as well. So there are a lot of options with colors that you don't always get with opera, where it's sort of like, to start, I've got to get past this 60-piece orchestra.
So
and so it's just got to be audible, right? So having that option to sort of color based on what is happening in the moment and the mood is really a wonderful thing. So and the role is paced very well.
Yeah.
So it's really just it's a joy to sing.
Do you have any specific favorite moments of the show that you're not a part of?
I mean, everybody's gotta love Nothing Like a Dame. Like I run through the number, but that's all I do. But then just watching the gentleman get frustrated and run around the stage, it's a great song. Like what show choir hasn't done Nothing Like a Dame? And I feel like it's one of the best well-known songs from the show. And so I always enjoy sitting backstage and watching that moment.
And what about you, Sean?
I think I'm gonna wash that man right out of my hair.
Okay, so also another big fun moment in the show.
Yeah, but also I think it's it's this big flashy number, but it's this character who's really like trying to achieve something. I think that's very relatable. That when someone's trying to break up and just push something out, and she does it in this fun kind of way.
And then you make an appearance right after the song on.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. Do you guys have a favorite Rodgers and Hammerstein song?
Honestly, there's so many. There's a little song from Flower Drum Song that I'll never get to perform professionally, but it makes a perfect jazz standard called Love Look Away. But then my other favorite show of Rodgers and Hammerstein's is The King and I. And specifically, like the orchestrations for The King and I are so beautiful. And when I think it's like the March of the Children, Siamese Children,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
that orchestral arrangement.
It's beautiful.
It's my favorite part of that show.
Yeah.
No singing at all.
No singing,
just
just
that orchestra part.
Sean, anything?
I love the soliloquy from Carousel.
Mm.
I mean, in its scope and the
Have
epic.
you ever played that part?
I haven't. I've sung it in concert.
Okay.
But just what the character goes through and this sort of
a lot of
dark,
change in that song as
flawed
well.
character. I can't believe that they were able to touch on these themes and portray characters like that in that time.
Yeah.
Well,
what do you hope audience members will take away from this production at ABT?
I hope that they leave the theater being completely entertained and have gone on this big, gorgeous ride with us. But then I hope that it really does make them stop and think about where we are in our world and what have they just learned from these characters and how can they use some of those lessons in their real life every day and help make this world a better place.
I think Rodgers and Hammerstein were really ahead of their time because not only did they create these beautiful shows with great songs, but so many socially relevant issues that here we are 70 years later still talking about them. So Kate Marshall, Sean David Cooper, here at ABT, the production of South Pacific through December 30th.